So I'm with Tom in the Botanical Garden, is it?
That's
Botanical
correct.
Garden. Tom, can you give us a sort of brief history of the business?
Yeah, so it's Warner Edwards Distillery. Started originally in '97 at Harper Adams Agricultural College, where a few of us met up and became friends. But then in 2009, we were having a barbecue, decided to start a business. 6 months of brainstorming various different business ideas. The penultimate idea was to produce essential oils, distilling flowers. So we've almost come full circle with the Botanical Garden launch, but we evolved that idea. We were looking at buying a still and said, well, once we've got this oil from the flowers, what can we do with the still for the rest of the year? We can make booze. Why are we talking about flowers? Let's make booze. So we screwed up the essential oil business plan and decided to become distillers. We're now sort of late 2009, early 2010. Looking at lots of different spirits, realised that we couldn't make an aged spirit because we couldn't withstand the cash flow of producing something for 3 years before you could sell it. So that left us with white spirits, of which you've got really in the UK the big two are gin and vodka. Vodka is a very uninspiring product. By EU definition, it's a neutral flavoured
That's contentious.
Well, by EU definition, it's a neutral flavoured product. So, you're talking about smoothness rather than flavour. We wanted to create our own flavour. Yeah. We were gin drinkers. Vodka makes other drinks alcoholic. It's, vodka and Red Bull, vodka and Coke, vodka and tonic. Gin actually creates a flavour. So, we wanted to own that flavour. We wanted to produce that our own recipe that we could own and talk about. We were gin drinkers, albeit we weren't gin nutters like it seemed to have come around in the last few years. We would have a gin and tonic before a meal. We would move on to gin and tonics after we'd had a few beers. So gin was kind of more in our blood than anything else in a literal sense. And the research that we did in early 2010 underlined that actually premium gin was really going to explode. Yeah. Even 6 years on, where we are 6.5 years on, the market has moved so much, has got so big, bigger than we ever thought it would. If you look at some of the Mintel data, when we launched 2012, the UK gin market was 800 million, it's now over 1 billion. They reckon by 2020 it's going to be 1.3 billion. So another 30% growth in market size over the next 4 years. Really underlined that picking gin as a spirit was the right thing to do. Barrier to entry is quite low as well. All gin distillers, bar only a few, buy in their ethanol. So your cost, capex costs are lower because you're not having to buy a still that's the size of a petrochemical refining factory. It's much smaller. And with gin you can experiment quicker with flavour. Yeah. With a whiskey you can spend 10 years making it, drink it and go, uh-oh, that's not very good. A gin, you can make it, drink it the next day and go, that's pants, move on. So I think the hotbed of innovation within the gin category is being driven by the small guys because we just can. We can get up in the morning and make a kumquat gin if we want to. So
you say small guys, I mean, what sort of size are you?
We're probably becoming one of the bigger of the craft small guys now, because we're one of the oldest. We're 3 years, 9 months and 2 days old, and we're now the old boys in the industry. It's scary. We get people coming up to us at shows saying, I've just launched a distillery, we want to emulate your success. And you're like, okay, I'm still not earning anything out of this business. Rethink your life strategy model. We're starting to become one of the bigger boys in the craft sector compared to Hendrix probably sells more in a day than we sell in a year still. So that's the real barometer. They classify themselves as a craft brand. It's difficult to say, but we're doing okay. We're starting to segue into bigger retailers now, and that's part of the reason why we're doing the Botanical Garden is the independent shops that have supported us to this date. We don't want to just drop them, so we're creating a range of products that they can have and the big boys can't.
Yeah. So is the consumer going to have more sub-brands in the next few years? I mean, have you got any sort of ideas up your sleeve, any launches, etc.?
For us, the driver for our business has been innovation in flavour, but not just doing it because we think it'll be popular. We do it because we've got a real anchor point with the Botanical. So the first flavoured gin we did was our elderflower gin. My mum came into the kitchen as we were developing the dry gin with a bottle of Gordon's that she'd put fresh elderflower and sugar into. Obviously we turned into gin snobs and said, why are you using Gordon's, mum? But actually it was beautiful as a product. You can only make it in the middle of the summer, you can only make it with fresh elderflower. That's what we do. Hand-picked fresh elderflower from around the farm. We've got 2 weeks to make a year's supply. The rhubarb gin that we met a guy at a show that runs a Crown estate. He grows Queen Victoria's rhubarb patch. I mean, you don't get provenance like that every day. We did it because of that provenance, because of that agricultural link. It's now our top seller. We didn't do it because we thought rhubarb would be popular. We did it because we thought it had a really cool, authentic message behind it. Who'd have thought that rhubarb would become 65% of our volume? It was meant to be a one-off limited edition. The botanical garden we have built because this time last year Ollie, our head distiller, and I walked around the garden, and my mum unfortunately passed away in 2014. She was a really keen cook, really keen gardener, and she just got borders full of fabulous herbs that you could distill. I said, Ollie, we should be distilling these. We started playing around with them in the distillery, made some pretty cool gin. I said, right, we're going to build a botanical garden. So that's why we're here tonight. We literally, on the side of everything else we do, we've built this summer. We started in April. We dug the holes, pulled the turf up, built the boxes, filled them, planted them. And we are using this as a flavour palette now for the botanical garden range from Warner Edwards. So there will be more products coming out under that range. It'll be probably quite seasonal. And
what about research then? I mean, how do you get to find products that the consumers want? Or do you really just go on your own taste?
I think it's own taste and instinct. I think Diageo, Pernod Ricard, Remy and Cointreau, all those guys will spend a lot of time with scientists and flavour trend analysts working out what the next big thing is. Craft distillers have the advantage of just get on with it because our cost structure is very different. We're much more flexible, and I think that's where craft really has the edge. I think we were lost by this for quite a while. I never know whether I should say this or not, but I think all the craft guys get lost in trying to make the best dry gin in the world, and it's my dry gin's better than your dry gin because I use these botanicals and this still in this process. And actually, we need to be more innovative than that. And it's our elderflower gin, which is not a very traditional style of making gin. It's a traditional dry gin that's been distilled, but there's a post-distillation process that we then apply to it. Same with the rhubarb. No one in their right mind would actually make that product. It makes me cry probably 3 times a week. It's a nightmare to make. It's our top seller, but you've got to push the boundaries of flavour. That's where craft really needs to innovate, and I think it's the craft brands that get that and do that well will be the ones that survive.
You briefly said, obviously, this is get your inspiration from the botanical garden here. Can you see any other flavours coming out soon?
Yeah, I'm not going to give you any definite. We've just launched one now, man. We can't tell you them all in one go. But Melissa's the first. She's called Melissa because of Melissa officinalis, which is lemon balm. Yeah. So that's why we've called her Melissa. I mean, you can walk around yourself and take a guess at what the next ones will be. But we've got some really cracking stuff in here. A lot of these plants are perennial, so we'll have to replant next year. So I think the garden will evolve as we refine our tastes and try different things. The plants that are in here will probably change each year, so there'll be a changing ebb and flow of different things. And
so there's good sustainability and ecology factor to it as well.
Well, every bottle of Melissa gin has a neck label full of the seeds of the main botanical that's in there, so you get to grow your own at home.
Cool. Right, I think that about covers it. Thanks very much, Tom.
No worries, any time, chap. Enjoy the evening. Yeah.